You know, the signal brings back something I feel like has been long forgotten from cinema ever since Twister. Scenes with flying cows. Hey everyone, I'm John, and today I'm here to bring you a review of the all-new science fiction movie, The Signal. So, going into this movie, I didn't really have any expectations at all. I only found out that it existed the day I got the passes. I never saw any trailers or anything. And it really excited me, you know. It was a cast of mostly unknowns, except for Lawrence Fishburne, who's not really a huge star himself. And it was an original idea because we've had so many this year, just franchises, prequels, sequels, spin-offs. It's refreshing to have new things. Those are always the best movies, I think. And so, my expectations weren't necessarily high, but I was just really excited to see where this could go. You know, I was thinking that this could be something really cool. So the main plot of this movie is that we have 3 college freshmen, 2 men and 1 woman, and they're all traveling cross country because the woman is moving to California, so the men are helping her. But the really main thing here is that the men are chasing a hacker who hacked into the server at their college, MIT, and he made the servers go crazy and something went wrong, so they've been trying to hunt him down and get his IP address, and he's been sending them messages along the whole way, and it's really, you know, kind of a weird situation going on. And then they eventually find him, they go into his house, it's abandoned, things seem off, and a bunch of stuff happens. They go unconscious and wake up in a laboratory hospital type of place, and that's where the story starts, and a bunch of stuff happens from there, but that's where it starts. Now, this movie has a lot of things going for it, one of which is, you know, these concepts I think are really interesting. You know, from the story I just described to you, I think it's pretty original and fresh. You know, most science fiction movies these days are about the world being in jeopardy somehow or having to stop an alien invasion, but this is something a little bit different. It has a different tone, and I like that a lot. And a lot of these scenes are just done really well. You know, the cinematography in this movie I think is excellent. The way these scenes are shot is great. They create a really eerie kind of tone, you know, using the silence kind of. And the visuals are really good. And by visuals, I don't mean special effects, CGI type of thing. I mean just more the way it's done in a more creative, finesse type of way. And these characters, I think, are, you know, not in and of themselves really good, but they suit what's happening really well. So I thought that, you know, it was definitely a very interesting, different movie. And, you know, these things I just mentioned, you know, visuals, cinematography, interesting concepts, they're all very important for a movie, but they're not the most important thing. I think the most important thing is the story and the way the story arc happens. More how the story arc happens and how it's paced and that it's not disjointed than the story itself. You see what I mean? Like, if a movie has some, you know, some dialogue that's kind of off, things that are kind of cheesy happening, visuals that are, you know, don't really look that great, but the story arc is good and it's solid and it's paced well and it's done well and it's not disjointed or awkward or boring, that can still be a good movie. I feel like the story arc can actually save a movie. But if a movie has, you know, good visuals and interesting things happening, but the story arc is just, whether it's boring or disjointed or something, it's not good, then that movie is really almost impossible for it to be good. You can't really enjoy it. That's the backbone. That's what the movie is a story arc. And I really, really regret to say that The Signal suffered poorly from the latter. The story arc here is terrible. Now, when I say story arc, I don't necessarily mean the story. The story is kind of what I said in the beginning, just what's happening. And I think that was okay here, but the way it all was paced and the way it happened was pretty awful. The Signal is one of those films that pretty much the main reason that you continue to be interested and watch the movie is that there's a lot of mystery happening. There's a lot of things that you see and you think, oh, what was that? And you know that it has a promise of telling you later. And a lot of movies do that really well. But this movie did not, for a few reasons. One of which is that it held too much for too long. You would see something, oh, that's interesting. How I want that to be explained. And you think they're going to explain it, and then an hour and 15 minutes later, it's still not explained. And you're thinking, well, come on, what are we doing here? Come on. Let's push this forward. You had me, and then I stopped caring. Another thing is that some of the things don't ever get explained at all. The movie ends with some mystery still happening. I mentioned early in the video that I didn't know a lot about this movie going in. I still don't really know a lot about this movie. The end is a twist ending, but it's not a good twist ending at all. It's just weird, and it doesn't leave you like, oh, like it's not, oh, you could have known that. It was just, what? Like it was just, crazy, almost like the twist in Now You See Me. It just was like, what? It's a twist for the sake of having a twist. And the way I mentioned earlier that these scenes are good, but they don't link together very well. I think I might have mentioned that the man is one of the men in the group is going out with the woman, and they have their whole little romance thing going on, and it almost feels like it's crammed in there at times. It is in a way relevant to the story, but some of the scenes that they just try to stick in there feel really awkward, and the romance scenes are done pretty decently, but they just don't belong, and it's awkward and choppy, and I was disappointed in this movie, in all honesty. I mean, it had a lot of interesting things happening that could have been done a lot better. A lot of cool new ideas. This director is very talented, but one article I read put it best that this movie is more a showcase of the director's technical skill to create certain emotions in scenes and have good visuals and good cinematography, and less a finished movie. It definitely shows a lot of talent just in terms of how everything is done, but okay, now make a movie, like a actual movie with a story that happens and isn't just weird, and it's almost like abstract surreal art in a way. So I have to give this movie big points for the visuals and the cinematography and just how interesting and new it was, but just the way the story happened, the backbone of the movie just was barely there. So I'm going to give The Signal a 2.1 out of 5 stars. Have you seen The Signal? Do you plan to see The Signal? What you think? What are your expectations? Tell us in the comments. And what should we review next? Tell us that in the comments as well. Also, be sure to follow Stubmasters on Twitter, just at Stubmasters. We tweet a lot about the movies and the movie industry and what's going on with our YouTube channel. So, The Signal, Stubmasters, I'm John. Have an excellent day.